The transport ship descended through the thick clouds of Veridan Prime, carrying the last thing Corporal Minho expected to see when he joined Earth's military: alien soldiers. Real ones. Not the kind from movies or video games, but actual beings from other worlds with different skin, different eyes, and completely different ways of thinking. Minho pressed his face against the small window, watching the military base grow larger below. Forward Operating Base Theta 7 looked like a massive metal fortress dropped onto the planet's rocky surface. Ships of various designs sat in neat rows, some sleek and bird-like, others bulky and geometric. Soldiers moved between buildings, and from this height, Minho could barely tell which ones were human. "Nervous?" asked Sergeant Hyunwoo from the seat beside him. The older man had sharp eyes and a calm demeanor that made everyone feel safer. He had been with the Coalition longer than most humans, having volunteered for the first integration wave 6 months ago. "A little," Minho admitted. There was no point lying to Hyunwoo. The sergeant could read people like books. "Good, means you're smart." Hyunwoo leaned back in his seat. "The aliens aren't bad, just different. Very different." Across from them, Private Jiwon checked her rifle for the third time. She was young, maybe 22, with determined eyes that rarely stayed still. "Do they really think we're weak?" she asked. Hyunwoo smiled. "They think we're interesting, like exotic pets that can hold guns." The transport touched down with a slight bump. The rear hatch opened, flooding the cargo bay with bright sunlight and warm air. Minho grabbed his pack and followed Hyunwoo down the ramp. The moment his boots hit the ground, he saw them. Aliens. Everywhere. A tall being with blue feathered skin and 4 arms directed traffic near the landing pad. Its head resembled a bird's, but the eyes were too large, too intelligent. Nearby, a group of insectoid creatures in armor moved in perfect sync, their multiple legs clicking against the metal walkway. One of them turned its triangular head toward the new arrivals, antennae twitching. "Stay close," Hyunwoo said quietly. "Don't stare. They hate that." Minho forced his eyes forward and followed his sergeant toward the main building. As they walked, other aliens stopped to watch. Some whispered to each other in languages that sounded like music or grinding rocks. A few pointed at the humans with whatever appendages they had. The base command center was cooler inside, the air filtered and recycled. Commander Velthar waited for them in the main hall. The commander stood nearly 7 feet tall, covered in white and gray feathers that rustled with each movement. His species, the Aviran, looked like ancient Earthbirds had evolved intelligence and built spaceships. "Welcome to Theta 7, Velthar said in perfect English, though his voice had a strange whistling quality. "I am Commander Velthar. I oversee this installation and all military operations in this sector." "Thank you, sir," Hyunwoo said, snapping to attention. Minho and Jiwon did the same. Velthar's large eyes studied them carefully. "Humans, you are the newest members of the Galactic Coalition. Many are curious about your kind. Your planet is classified as a death world. Do you know what this means?" "Yes, sir," Hyunwoo replied. "It means Earth has higher gravity, more dangerous wildlife, and harsher conditions than most civilized worlds." "Correct." Velthar walked around them slowly, his taloned feet clicking on the floor. "In the Coalition, there are only 3 other Death World species. All are considered elite warriors. But you humans are different. Your planet is not just dangerous, it is actively hostile. Your ancestors survived conditions that would extinct most species." Minho felt a strange pride at those words, but also confusion. If Earth was so dangerous, why did the aliens seem to look down on them? Velthar continued, "However, you are also fragile in ways we do not understand. Your bodies require constant water. You cannot survive in most atmospheric conditions. You are sensitive to temperature. This makes you complicated." Lieutenant Krenax entered the hall then, and Minho had to work hard not to stare. The lieutenant looked like a massive praying mantis that had been given armor and rank. His green exoskeleton gleamed under the lights, and his compound eyes reflected their images 100 times over. "These are the new humans?" Krenax asked in a voice that sounded like gravel being crushed. "They look soft." "Lieutenant," Velthar warned, "I speak only truth, Commander. Look at them, thin skin, no natural armor, small teeth. They would not last 1 day on my homeworld." Krenax stepped closer to Jiwon, looming over her. "You are a warrior?" Jiwon met his gaze without flinching. "Yes, sir. We will see." Krenax turned away dismissively. "I will observe their performance in training." Perhaps Deathworlders have hidden strengths. Over the next week, Minho learned what it meant to be human in the Coalition. During training exercises, the alien soldiers were faster, stronger, and had better senses. The reptilian species called Draken could see in complete darkness. The Avarant could process information at incredible speeds. The insectoids like Kreenax had reflexes that seemed superhuman. But Minho also noticed something strange. Whenever an alien got hurt during training, even slightly, they stopped immediately. A Draken soldier got hit with a practice round that left a bruise, and he withdrew to medical for an hour. An Aviran strained a muscle and was out for 2 days. They're not weak, Specialist Dayun explained one evening. Dayun was the human medic assigned to their unit, a quiet woman with steady hands and sharp mind. Their worlds are safe, peaceful. They didn't evolve to push through pain like we did. What do you mean? Minho asked. On Earth, our ancestors had to keep running even with broken bones, had to keep fighting even when wounded, because stopping meant death. Dayun cleaned her medical tools as she spoke. These aliens? Their ancestors never needed that. If they got hurt, they could rest and heal. Their predators weren't as persistent. Their environments weren't as harsh. That night, alarms screamed through the base. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Soldiers rushed to armory stations, grabbing weapons and armor. Minho's heart pounded as he pulled on his combat gear. What's happening? Jiwan shouted over the noise. Hyunwoo checked his rifle's charge. Krell Syndicate. Enemy forces. Intel says they're mobilizing for an attack. Here, now? Minho asked. Welcome to the border, Corporal. Hyunwoo headed for the door. Let's show these aliens what humans can do. Outside, the base transformed into organized chaos. Defensive positions were manned. Heavy weapons were placed on the walls. Ships powered up their engines, ready to provide air support. And everywhere, soldiers from a dozen species prepared for war. Minho found his position on the southern wall, rifle ready, eyes scanning the dark horizon. Beside him, an Avarant soldier named Tresh shifted nervously. Have you fought before? Tresh asked. Not like this, Minho admitted. I have fought twice. It is terrifying. But we follow doctrine. When wounded, we fall back. When outnumbered, we retreat. Survival is most important. Minho thought about what Dayun had said. These aliens retreated when hurt because that's what made sense on their worlds. But humans? Humans learned long ago that sometimes you can't retreat. Sometimes you have to stand and fight no matter the cost. Contact. Someone shouted. Enemy ships incoming! Minho gripped his rifle tighter and watched the sky light up with weapon fire. The battle had begun. The first explosion shook the ground beneath Minho's feet. He pressed himself against the wall, watching enemy ships streak across the night sky. They looked like black daggers cutting through the darkness, their engines leaving trails of purple fire. The Krell Syndicate had arrived in force. All units hold positions. Commander Velthar's voice crackled through the communication system. Point defense weapons, open fire. The base's defensive guns roared to life, filling the air with bright streams of plasma. Several Krell ships exploded mid-flight, raining debris onto the rocky ground beyond the walls. But more kept coming. Many more. Tresh, the Avarant soldier beside Minho, fired his rifle in controlled bursts. His feathers stood up straight with fear, but his aim stayed steady. There are too many. They should not attack with such numbers. Maybe they really want this base, Minho shouted back, squeezing his own trigger. His bullet struck a Krell drop pod as it descended, but the armored container kept falling. It crashed into the ground 100 meters from the wall, and the sides blew open. Krell soldiers poured out. They were shorter than humans, covered in thick gray plates that looked like natural armor. Their faces were flat with small eyes and wide mouths full of sharp teeth. Each one carried weapons that glowed with green energy. They're coming, Ji-Won yelled from her position nearby. She fired her rifle rapidly, dropping 3 Krell before they could reach cover. The battle became chaos. Krell forces spread out, attacking from multiple directions. Their drop pods kept landing, bringing more soldiers, more weapons, more violence. The noise was incredible, a constant roar of explosions, gunfire, and screaming. Minho saw Private Sunho near the heavy weapons station. Sunho was a big man, muscular and strong, and he operated the mounted gun like it was part of his body. The weapon spat fire continuously, cutting down Krell soldiers in groups. But the enemy kept advancing. An explosion ripped through the eastern wall. Minho turned to see Draken soldiers falling back, their section compromised. The reptilian aliens moved quickly, carrying their wounded, retreating according to their training. It made tactical sense. Preserve forces. Lived to fight another day, but it left a gap. A big one. Eastern wall is collapsing. Lieutenant Kreenax's voice came through the radio. All units, tactical withdrawal to secondary positions. Hyunwoo grabbed Minho's shoulder. Fall back! We need to regroup. They ran across the base as explosions bloomed around them. Minho saw alien soldiers everywhere, all retreating in organized patterns. A wounded Aviran limped past, supported by 2 others. An insectoid soldier with a damaged leg was carried away on a stretcher. Specialist Dayun appeared from nowhere, running toward the sounds of battle instead of away. There are wounded in Building 7, she shouted. Medic negative, an alien officer called. That position is compromised. Dayun ignored him and kept running. Minho watched her disappear into the smoke, heading straight toward danger to save others. It was insane. It was also the most human thing he had seen all night. The coalition forces regrouped at the command bunker, a reinforced structure in the center of the base. Commander Velthar coordinated the defense from inside, his feathers ruffled with stress. The eastern and northern sectors are lost. We hold here until reinforcements arrive. How long? Hyunwoo asked. 3 hours, maybe 4. Kreenax clicked his mandibles in frustration. We cannot hold for 4 hours. The Krell have 3 times our numbers now. Then we hold for 3 hours and 59 minutes, Hyunwoo said calmly. And we do it together. The Krell pressed their advantage, pushing closer to the command bunker. They moved in waves, sacrificing soldiers to gain ground. Their war master, a massive Krell covered in decorated armor, directed the assault from behind the lines. Minho caught glimpses of him through the smoke, a leader who sent others to die while staying safe. Coward, Minho thought. The fighting got worse. Plasma bolts burned through the air. Explosions shook the ground constantly. The smell of smoke and burned metal filled Minho's lungs. He kept firing, kept moving, kept fighting because stopping meant dying. An Aviran soldier near him took a glancing shot to the wing. The alien immediately fell back, crying out in pain. Another soldier helped him to safety. They would treat the wound, stabilize him, and he would eventually recover. That was the doctrine Ji-won was hit next. A Krell plasma bolt punched through her shoulder armor, burning into the flesh beneath. She screamed, dropped to one knee, and Minho thought she would retreat. Any alien would have. Instead, Ji-won switched her rifle to her other hand and kept firing. Blood ran down her arm, soaking into her uniform, but she didn't stop. She didn't even slow down. Lieutenant Kreenax saw it happen. His compound eyes went wide with something that looked like shock. He stared at Ji-won as she fought on, wounded and bleeding, refusing to quit. Human, he shouted at her. You are damaged. Fall back. I'm fine. Ji-won shouted back, dropping another Krell with a headshot. You are not fine. You are wounded. It's just my shoulder. She fired again. I have another one. Kreenax stood frozen, unable to process what he was seeing. In his world, in his evolution, injury meant retreat. It was logical. It was survival. But these humans, Dayun returned then, dragging 2 wounded Draken soldiers. Both were larger than her, but she hauled them through the mud and smoke with determination. Plasma fire zipped past her head. An explosion threw dirt over her body. She kept going. Medic Dayun, Velthar called from the bunker entrance. You should not expose yourself like this. People need help. Dayun shouted back, finally reaching cover. She immediately started treating the wounded Draken, her hands moving quickly despite the danger around them. The alien soldiers watched her work. They saw her risk her life for species not her own, for creatures who looked nothing like her. It made no sense. And yet she did it anyway. Sunho's position took a direct hit. A Krell missile struck the heavy weapon emplacement, and the explosion threw him backward. Minho saw it happen, saw Sunho's body ragdoll through the air and slam into the ground. No one could survive that. But Sunho stood up. Slowly, painfully, but he stood. His armor was shredded. Blood covered his face. And his left arm hung at a wrong angle, clearly broken. He stumbled toward the fallen heavy weapon, grabbed it with his good arm and started firing again. Impossible, Tresh whispered beside Minho. He should be unconscious. His arm is broken. Minho didn't answer. He just watched Sunho keep fighting, one-armed and bleeding, refusing to stop because the enemy was still coming. The Krell seemed to notice something was wrong. Their advance slowed. Soldiers started looking at each other, uncertain. They were used to enemies who behaved logically, who retreated when wounded, who valued their lives appropriately. These humans didn't retreat. These humans didn't stop. Even when hurt, even when bleeding, they kept fighting with an intensity that seemed impossible. The Krell War Master barked orders, trying to regain momentum. But doubt had entered his forces. They had expected an easy victory against a weakened coalition force. Instead, they found enemies who refused to die properly. "Reinforcements are 1 hour out," Velthar announced. "Hold this position.
1 hour, 60 minutes.
It might as well have been 60 days. The battle raged on through the night. Human and alien soldiers fought side by side, each beginning to understand the other. The aliens saw that humans weren't weak despite their soft skin, and humans saw that aliens weren't cowards despite their careful tactics. They were just different. Different worlds. Different evolution. Different ways of surviving. But tonight they survived together. As dawn approached, the Krell began to pull back. They had taken too many casualties, spent too much ammunition, and worst of all, they had failed to break through. The coalition held the command bunker, barely, but they held. Minho sat against a wall, exhausted, covered in dirt and blood. Most of it wasn't his. Ji-won slumped beside him, her wounded shoulder finally bandaged. Sunho lay nearby, both arms now splinted but alive. Impossibly alive. Hyunwoo stood watch, rifle ready, eyes scanning for threats. He looked tired but unbroken. That was Hyunwoo, always ready for one more fight. Lieutenant Kreenax approached them slowly. He looked at each human carefully, his antennae twitching with thought. "You do not retreat when wounded," he said quietly. "Not if we can still fight," Hyunwoo replied. "This is not logical." "No," Hyunwoo agreed. "But it works." Kreenax turned away without another word, but Minho saw something different in the alien's posture. Not respect yet, but maybe the beginning of understanding. The sun rose over Veridan Prime, bringing light to the battlefield. The Krell had withdrawn, but everyone knew they would return. Next time stronger, next time smarter, but next time the coalition would be ready, and the aliens would know what it meant to fight beside humans. The Krell returned 3 days later. This time they brought everything. More ships, more soldiers, more weapons. The attack came at dawn, when the defenders were at their most tired, most vulnerable. Explosions rocked the base before anyone could sound the alarm. Minho rolled out of his bunk as the ceiling shook. Dust fell from above. Emergency lights cast everything in red. He grabbed his rifle and armor, dressing as he ran toward his station. All around him, soldiers did the same. Human and alien, moving together now with practiced efficiency. "Eastern Wall again," someone shouted. "They're hitting the same spot." "No," Hyunwoo said, studying his tactical display. "That's a feint. The real attack will come from the west. They want us to move our forces." Commander Velthar's voice came through the speakers. "All units to defensive positions." "This is a full assault. They mean to take this base today." Minho reached the western wall and looked out. His breath caught. The Krell had brought an army. Thousands of soldiers spread across the plain, supported by armored vehicles and artillery. Dropships circled overhead like vultures. "We can't hold against that," Tresh said, his feathers flat against his body with fear. "We hold or we die," Ji-won replied, checking her rifle. Her shoulder was still bandaged, but she refused to stay in medical. "Those are the only two options." The Krell attacked like a hammer striking an anvil. Artillery shells screamed through the air, exploding against shields and walls. Infantry charged forward in waves, caring nothing for casualties. They had the numbers. They had the momentum. They had everything except mercy. The coalition forces fought back with everything they had. Plasma weapons lit up the sky. Heavy guns roared continuously. Fighters and bombers engaged the Krell dropships in aerial battles that left burning wreckage falling like rain. But it wasn't enough. The Krell kept coming, and slowly, steadily, they pushed the defenders back. "Western Wall is breaching," an officer shouted. "We need reinforcements." "There are no reinforcements," Velthar replied. "Every position is engaged." An explosion tore through the wall near Minho's position. The shockwave threw him backward, and his ears rang with pain. He shook his head, trying to clear his vision. When he could see again, Krell soldiers were pouring through the gap. Sunho's heavy gun cut down the first wave, but there were too many. They spread out, finding cover, establishing positions. The breach was growing. The line was breaking. "Fall back," Lieutenant Kreenax ordered. "Fall back to the command bunker." The alien soldiers retreated in good order, covering each other, dragging their wounded. They moved quickly but carefully, following their training. Survival first. Always survival first. The human soldiers held the line a few seconds longer, firing until their positions became completely untenable. Then they too pulled back, but differently. Where aliens retreated smoothly, humans stumbled and fought. Where aliens carried one wounded, humans tried to carry two. Where aliens moved to live, humans moved to not give up ground. Minho found himself with Hyunwoo and Jiwon at the command bunker entrance. A handful of other soldiers joined them, both human and alien. This was the last position. If the Krell took this, they took the base. We hold here, Hyunwoo said simply. No matter what. The Krell saw the opportunity. They pushed hard toward the bunker, sending their best troops. These weren't regular soldiers anymore. These were shock troops, elite warriors in heavier armor with better weapons. They moved with deadly purpose. Leading them was someone different, larger than the others, wearing armor decorated with symbols and trophies. The Krell champion. Every warrior culture had them, soldiers who lived only for battle and glory. The champion pointed at the bunker entrance and roared something in the Krell language. His warriors charged. Minho fired into the mass of bodies. His rifle grew hot in his hands. Beside him, Jiwon and Sunho did the same. Alien soldiers added their firepower. The air became solid with weapons fire. Krell fell. Many Krell, but they kept coming, stepping over their dead, using corpses as cover. Nothing stopped them. Nothing even slowed them down. They're too close. Tresh screamed, backing away from the entrance. We must retreat inside. No, Hyunwoo snapped. If they get inside, everyone dies. We hold here. The Krell champion reached the entrance first. He was massive up close, nearly 7 feet tall. His armor covered in scratches and dents from dozens of battles. His eyes locked onto Minho with recognition. This human was the one who killed the most Krell. This human would be his prize. Minho met his charge with his rifle, but the champion swatted it aside with contemptuous ease. The weapon flew from Minho's hands, clattering across the ground. The champion pulled an energy blade from his belt, its edge glowing white-hot. Everything seemed to slow down. Minho reached for his combat knife. The champion stepped forward. Hyunwoo shouted something. The blade came up, aimed at Minho's chest. Minho tried to dodge, but the champion was fast, impossibly fast. The energy blade punched through Minho's armor like paper, driving deep into his chest. Heat and pain exploded through his body. He could feel the blade inside him, could feel it burning through vital organs. The champion smiled, certain of his victory. He began to pull the blade free for a killing blow. The alien soldiers watching stopped firing. They stared in horror. By every medical standard they knew, Minho was dead. That wound was fatal. Completely, totally fatal. The human should collapse any second now. But Minho didn't collapse. His hands came up, grabbing the blade that impaled him. The energy burned his palms, but he held on. The champion's smile faltered as Minho pulled himself closer along the blade's length, using the weapon that killed him as leverage. Impossible, Krenax whispered from somewhere behind. Minho's left hand released the blade and pulled his combat knife. The champion tried to step back, tried to create distance, but Minho held on with his right hand. The blade was still inside him. It connected them like an anchor. With the last of his strength, Minho drove his knife into the gap between the champion's helmet and chest armor. The blade sank deep, finding something vital. The champion's eyes went wide with shock and pain. They fell together, predator and prey both mortally wounded. They hit the ground hard. The champion stopped moving first, his body going limp as life left him. Minho should have followed seconds later. Everyone watching expected it. The wound in his chest was devastating. His heart was damaged. His lungs were punctured. He was dead. He just didn't know it yet. But Minho's body refused to accept that fact. He rolled off the champion's corpse. Blood ran from the hole in his chest, more blood than seemed possible. His face was pale, his lips blue, but his eyes stayed focused. His hands found his rifle. Minho, Jiwon screamed. Stay down! You're hurt! Minho couldn't answer. His lungs weren't working properly, but he could still see. And he could still shoot. More Krell came through the entrance, stepping over their fallen champion. Minho raised his rifle with shaking hands and pulled the trigger. The first Krell fell, then the second, then the third. His body operated on autopilot, running on something deeper than thought. His conscious mind was starting to gray out, but his hands kept working. Load, aim, fire, load, aim, fire. The rifle kicked against his shoulder. The muzzle flash lit up the darkness. 4 more Krell died before they even understood what was happening. The human should be dead. They saw the wound. They saw the blood. How was he still fighting? Fear entered the Krell advance. These warriors who knew no mercy suddenly hesitated. They had trained to fight enemies who behaved logically. This human was broken, bleeding out seconds from death, and yet he kept killing them. Hyunwoo and the others resumed firing, taking advantage of the Krell's confusion. The enemy advance stalled at the entrance, caught between the human who wouldn't die and the other defenders who found new courage in his example. Minho's vision started to tunnel. The edges of the world went dark. His hands felt far away, like they belonged to someone else, but they still held the rifle. They still pulled the trigger. 6 Krell, 7, 8. His legs gave out. He dropped to one knee, then both knees. Blood pooled beneath him, spreading across the floor in a dark circle. His rifle wavered, the barrel dipping down. 9 Krell. 10. The world was mostly gray now. Minho could barely see, could barely breathe. His heart beat irregularly in his chest, struggling to pump blood that was rapidly draining away. Every medical instinct in every species said he should be dead. But humans evolved on a world where giving up meant extinction, where the only way to survive was to keep going until you literally couldn't anymore. Not until you were hurt, not until you were scared. Until you physically could not continue. Minho wasn't there yet. Not quite. 11 Krell. His rifle clicked empty. He tried to reload, but his hands wouldn't respond. He couldn't feel his fingers anymore. The rifle fell from his grip, hitting the floor with a metallic clang. Finally, 3 minutes after receiving a fatal wound, Minho collapsed. He fell forward, his body making a wet sound as it hit the bloody floor. His eyes stayed open, still trying to focus on threats but seeing only darkness. Medic! Hyunwoo roared. Daeun, now! Specialist Daeun appeared, sliding to her knees beside Minho. Her hands went to his chest, pressing against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding that had already stolen too much blood. He's gone, Tresh said quietly. No one survives that wound. It is impossible. The medical bay smelled like chemicals and fear. Minho lay on a bed designed for aliens, surrounded by machines that barely understood human biology. Tubes ran from his arms. Monitors beeped with irregular rhythms. His chest rose and fell in shallow breaths that looked more like tremors than breathing. Dr. Youngmi stood beside the bed, her face tired but focused. She had been working for 16 hours straight. Ever since they brought Minho in, the alien medical staff watched her carefully, trying to understand how she kept this human alive. His blood pressure should be 0, Chief Medical Officer Zarvesh said. He had 6 arms, each one holding a different medical instrument. His species evolved to multitask in ways humans could never match. His heart should have stopped hours ago. I do not understand how he continues. Humans are stubborn, Youngmi replied, adjusting an IV drip. Our bodies don't give up easily. We have backup systems for our backup systems. Explain, Zarvesh requested, his translator making his voice sound mechanical. Youngmi continued working as she spoke. When a human is injured, our body releases chemicals called hormones. Adrenaline makes us stronger and faster. Endorphins block pain. Our blood clots faster than most species. Our organs can operate at reduced capacity for extended periods. We evolved these traits because on Earth, getting injured didn't mean you could rest. It meant you had to keep moving or something would eat you. Zarvesh examined Minho's chest wound with gentle precision. The energy blade had gone straight through, missing the heart by millimeters but damaging other vital structures. This wound destroyed his lung tissue, damaged his cardiac muscle. By our medical standards, he should have died instantly. But he didn't. Youngmi replaced a blood bag with a fresh one. They had gone through 40 units already. His brain registered the injury and immediately diverted blood flow to essential organs. His remaining lung took over the workload. His heart changed its rhythm to compensate for the damage, and somehow, impossibly, he kept functioning long enough to kill 11 more enemies. I watched the footage, Zarvesh said quietly. I watched it 7 times. I still do not comprehend what I saw. Outside the medical bay, the base slowly returned to normal operations. The Krell had retreated beyond the horizon, licking their wounds. Coalition reinforcements had arrived in force, securing the sector. But everyone was talking about what happened at the bunker entrance. Lieutenant Kreenak sat alone in the observation room, watching the helmet cam footage again. His compound eyes reflected the screen's light 100 times over. He had watched this recording more times than Zarvesh, but he understood it no better. The footage showed everything. The champion's blade piercing Minho's chest, the human's hands grabbing the blade, the impossible counterattack, and then, most disturbing of all, Minho continuing to fight for 3 minutes with a wound that would have killed Kreenax's species in 3 seconds. "You watched again," said a voice from the doorway. Sergeant Hyunwoo entered, carrying 2 cups of something hot. He offered one to Kreenax. "What is this?" the alien asked, accepting the cup carefully. "Coffee. Human drink. Helps us think." Hyunwoo sat down nearby. "You look like you need help thinking." Kreenax examined the dark liquid. "Your species confuses me, Sergeant. On my world, when someone is injured, they stop fighting. This is logical. This preserves life. If you continue with injury, you risk making it worse. You risk permanent damage. You risk death." "That's smart," Hyunwoo said, sipping his own coffee. "Your world must be a peaceful place." "It is. Our predators are few. Our environment is stable. We evolved intelligence to solve problems, not to endure suffering. Earth is different." Hyunwoo stared at the frozen image of Minho on the screen. "Our predators were fast and numerous. Our environment was unstable. We evolved intelligence too, but we also evolved to endure, because on Earth stopping meant dying. There was no safe place to rest. No guarantee of tomorrow. So we learned to push through pain, through injury, through fear. We learned to keep going because stopping wasn't an option." Kreenax clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "But Corporal Minho did not need to keep fighting. We could have retreated into the bunker. We could have sealed the entrance. And then the Krell would have breached it eventually. More people would have died." Hyunwoo set down his cup. Minho saw a threat to his squad, to his friends, to people he swore to protect. So he eliminated the threat. It's not complicated. But he was dying. "Yes," Hyunwoo agreed. "He was, but he wasn't dead yet. And while you're not dead, you can still fight. That's the human way." Kreenax was silent for a long time. Then he asked, "Is this why you call yourselves Deathworlders? Because you come from a world that forces you to fight until death?" "Maybe. Or maybe it's because we learned that death comes for everyone eventually. Might as well make it mean something when it arrives." In another part of the base, Commander Velthar met with Coalition High Command via holographic transmission. 5 alien leaders from different species materialized in the room, their expressions serious. "We have reviewed the footage from Forward Operating Base Theta 7, said Admiral Trexicon, a towering being covered in crystalline structures. "The humans' actions are remarkable. They are also disturbing." "Disturbing how?" Velthar asked. "Humans do not retreat. They do not value self-preservation appropriately. This makes them unpredictable." Admiral Trexicon's crystals changed color, indicating concern. Some members of High Command question whether humans should be integrated into coalition forces. Velthar's feathers ruffled with agitation. "With respect, Admiral, the humans saved this base. While my species calculated odds and your species planned strategies, the humans simply fought. They held positions we thought lost. They saved soldiers we thought dead. They turned a certain defeat into unlikely victory. By refusing to accept they were defeated," another admiral interjected. "This is not bravery. This is recklessness, no." The voice came from the doorway. Private Jiwon stood there, her wounded shoulder bandaged but her posture straight. "Permission to speak, sir?" Velthar nodded. "Granted." Jiwon stepped into view of the holographic transmission. "You think we fight because we don't value life. That's wrong. We fight because we value everyone else's life more than our own. When I was shot, I could have retreated. I could have saved myself. But my squad mates were still fighting, still in danger. How could I abandon them? When Minho was stabbed, he could have fallen down and died. But we were behind him, depending on him. How could he let us down?" The admiral shifted uncomfortably, unable to respond. Jiwon continued, her voice growing stronger. "You evolved on safe worlds. That's good. That's beautiful. But it means you think survival is the most important thing. For humans, survival isn't enough. We want to survive together, as a group, as a family, and if that means some of us take risks so others can live, then that's what we do. It's not reckless. It's human." Admiral Trexcon considered her words carefully. "You are very young, Private, yet you speak with conviction." "Because I watched Corporal Minho die for us," Jiwon said, "and I watched him refuse to stay dead until he knew we were safe. If that's not worth conviction, nothing is. Back in the medical bay, Minho's eyes opened. Just slightly, just barely, but they opened. Youngmi saw it immediately. Minho, can you hear me? His lips moved. No sound came out, but his eyes found her face and focused. He was conscious. Impossibly, after everything, he was conscious. Don't try to talk, Youngmi said, her voice catching with emotion. You were injured badly. You're in medical. You're safe. Minho's eyes moved, scanning the room, looking for threats, still looking for dangers even now. The base is secure, Youngmi assured him. The Krell retreated. Everyone is safe because of you. Something changed in Minho's expression. Relief, maybe. Or satisfaction. His eyes closed again, but this time it looked like sleep rather than unconsciousness. His heart monitor steadied slightly, finding a more regular rhythm. Zarvesh watched with fascination. He regained consciousness just to confirm others were safe. Then he allowed himself to rest. Remarkable. That's humans, Youngmi said, wiping her eyes. We're stubborn idiots who care too much about everyone else. No, Zarvesh corrected gently. You are warriors who understand that some things are worth dying for. My species forgot that truth millions of years ago when our world became peaceful. Perhaps we need to remember. Over the next few days, word spread through the coalition. The story of Minho and the defense of forward operating base Theta-7 reached every military installation, every ship, every outpost. Soldiers from dozens of species watched the helmet cam footage and tried to understand what they saw. Some were frightened by human capabilities, others were inspired, but all were changed by the knowledge that somewhere in the galaxy, there existed a species that simply refused to give up, no matter the cost. Lieutenant Kreenax requested transfer to a human-led unit. When asked why, he simply said, I have fought alongside many warriors, but I have never fought alongside humans. I wish to understand them better. Private Jiwan received a commendation for her actions during the battle. She accepted it quietly, uncomfortable with the attention. Specialist Diane continued her work in medical, teaching alien doctors about human physiology and learning about theirs. The exchange of knowledge saved lives on both sides. 3 weeks after the battle, Minho walked through the base without assistance for the first time. His steps were careful and his breathing still shallow, but he walked. The alien medical staff called it impossible. Dr. Youngmi called it inevitable. Hyun Woo just called it stubborn. The cybernetic implant in his chest hummed softly with each breath. It wasn't large, just a small device that supported his damaged heart and helped his remaining lung work more efficiently. Minho barely noticed it anymore. It was part of him now, like a scar or a memory. You should still be in bed, Youngmi scolded as she walked beside him. Most patients with your injuries need months of recovery. I'm not most patients, Minho replied. And I've been in bed for 3 weeks. That's enough. They walked past groups of soldiers, human and alien, working together on repairs. The base had taken heavy damage during the Krell assault, and rebuilding was a slow process. But everyone worked with new energy, new purpose. Something had changed during that battle, something fundamental. An Averin soldier saw Minho and immediately stood at attention. Corporal Minho, sir. Minho nodded awkwardly. He still wasn't comfortable with the attention. At ease. Sir, I wanted to say thank you. My nest brother was in the bunker during the attack. He survived because you held the entrance. The Averin's feathers were bright with emotion. My family honors your courage. I was just doing my job, Minho said quietly. No, sir. You were dying. There is a difference. The Averin saluted and returned to his work. Youngmi smiled. You're a hero now. Better get used to it. I'm not a hero. Heroes are people in stories. I'm just a corporal who got lucky. You got stabbed through the chest and kept fighting for 3 minutes. That's not luck. That's something else entirely. They reached the command center where Commander Velthar waited. The tall Averin leader looked different somehow, his posture more relaxed, his eyes less burdened. The successful defense of the base had lifted a great weight from his shoulders. Corporal Minho, Velthar greeted him warmly. It is good to see you walking. Dr. Youngmi said you were progressing well, but I admit I had doubts. I'm hard to kill. Sir? Minho said with a slight smile. Yes, the entire galaxy knows this now. Velthar gestured to a screen showing news reports from across Coalition space. Every channel carried some version of the same story. Human Marine survives fatal wound, continues fighting, saves base. Your helmet cam footage has been viewed over 3 billion times. It is required viewing at every coalition military academy. Minho felt his face grow hot with embarrassment. Sir, I don't want to be famous. I just want to do my job. I understand. But you have become a symbol whether you wish it or not. A symbol of what humans bring to the coalition, of what Deathworlders can accomplish. Velthar opened a folder on his desk. You have been awarded the Coalition Star of Valor. It is the highest military honor we can give. You are the first human to receive it. Sir, I don't deserve that. Sergeant Hyunwoo held the line. Jiwon fought wounded. Sunho operated his weapon with a broken arm. Dun ran into fire to save others. They all deserve recognition. And they will receive it, Velthar assured him. But you, Corporal, did something that changed how the galaxy views your species. You showed us that humans fight not because they do not fear death, but because they value life so much they will sacrifice their own to protect others. That lesson is worth more than any military victory. Lieutenant Kreenax entered the command center then, his movements more fluid than before, more comfortable. Corporal Minho, you are recovered? Mostly, sir. Good. I have requested transfer to Human Integration Corps. My request was approved. I will be serving under Sergeant Hyunwoo's command in the new Mixed Species Unit. Kreenax tilted his head in what might have been curiosity. I hope you will join us when you are cleared for duty. You want to serve with humans? Minho asked, surprised. I want to learn from humans, Kreenax corrected. My species has forgotten how to truly fight. We retreat when injured because it is logical, but logic does not win wars. Courage wins wars. Determination wins wars. And humans have both in abundance. I would learn these things. Velthar pulled up more reports on his screen. You are not alone in this thinking, Lieutenant. Requests for transfer to human units have increased by 400% across the Coalition. Alien soldiers who never wanted to fight alongside Deathworlders now request it specifically. The Krell Syndicate has also changed their tactics. They are avoiding sectors with confirmed human presence. They call humans the ones who do not fall. Minho didn't know what to say. He had just tried to protect his squad. He had just done what any human would do in that situation. How had that changed so much? There is more, Velthar continued. Coalition High Command wants to expand human integration. They are requesting Earth provide 10,000 more soldiers over the next year. Your species is no longer viewed with skepticism. You are viewed as the warriors we have needed for decades. The door opened and Jiwon entered, followed by Sunho. Both looked healthier than the last time Minho saw them. Jiwon's shoulder had healed well, and Sunho had a new prosthetic arm that gleamed with advanced alien technology. Hey Minho, Sunho called out, flexing his new arm. Look at this. It's stronger than my old arm. I can lift twice as much now. Maybe I should have lost it years ago. Don't even joke about that, Jiwon said, punching his good shoulder. She turned to Minho with a smile. Good to see you up. Hyunwoo said you were getting restless in medical. I was going insane, Minho admitted. How are you both? Better, stronger. Jiwon's smile faded slightly. Also promoted, both of us. And we've been assigned to training duty. High Command wants us to help prepare the new human recruits arriving next month. Velthar nodded. The galaxy is changing, Corporal. Your actions during the battle accelerated that change. Human soldiers are no longer curiosities. You are the new elite. The species others look to for inspiration and guidance. That's a lot of pressure, Minho said quietly. Yes, Velthar agreed. But if anyone can handle it, humans can. You have proven that. Later that day, Minho walked to the memorial wall. It was a long structure near the center of the base, covered with names of soldiers who had fallen in battle. New names had been added after the Krell assault. Humans and aliens, their names side by side, united in sacrifice. He found the names he was looking for. Private Taiyang, killed defending the eastern wall. Specialist Borum died bringing ammunition to forward positions. Lance Corporal Minjun, lost when his position was overrun. Humans all who fought and died alongside their alien brothers and sisters. They were brave, a voice said beside him. Specialist Dayun stood there, her medical bag still strapped to her shoulder. She probably just came from treating someone. She was always treating someone. They were, Minho agreed. They held the line when it mattered most. So did you. Dayun touched one of the names gently. I knew Taiyang. He was funny, always making jokes even during the worst situations. He made everyone laugh. I remember. He told a joke right before the attack started. Something about a Krell walking into a bar. Minho couldn't remember the punchline. He wished he could. They stood in silence for a while, honoring the fallen. Around them, the base continued its work. Soldiers trained. Ships launched. Life went on because that's what life does. It continues despite loss, despite pain, despite everything. An alien soldier approached hesitantly. He was young, newly arrived with the reinforcements. His species was unfamiliar to Minho, something reptilian with blue scales and golden eyes. "Excuse me," the young soldier said in accented English. "Are you Corporal Minho? The one from the footage?" "Yes," Minho admitted. "I am Private Kesh. I arrived yesterday. I watched your footage during training. I wanted to ask..." He paused, choosing words carefully. "The injury was fatal. All our instructors said so. How did you continue? How did you not fall?" It was the same question everyone asked. Minho had answered it a dozen times, but he still didn't have a good answer. How do you explain something that isn't really a choice? How do you describe instinct that runs deeper than thought? "Because my squad was still behind me," Minho said finally. "Because they needed me to hold the line a little longer. Because giving up would have meant they died. What else was I going to do?" Private Kesh didn't understand. Minho could see it in his golden eyes, but the young alien nodded respectfully. "I hope I can learn to be that brave." "You don't learn bravery," Dayun said gently. "You just decide that some things are worth fighting for, worth dying for, and then you fight." Private Kesh saluted them both and walked away, probably still confused but maybe starting to understand. "They'll never fully get it," Dayun said once he was gone. "Their species didn't evolve on Deathworlds. They don't have the same instincts we do." "Maybe that's okay," Minho replied. "Maybe we don't need them to understand completely. We just need them to trust us. And we need to trust them." Deep thoughts for a corporal. I've had a lot of time to think. Sergeant Hyunwoo found them at the memorial wall an hour later. "There you are. Been looking everywhere for you." He held up a data pad. "New orders came through. Our squad is being reformed with additions. 5 humans, 4 aliens. Lieutenant Kreenax is our second in command. We deploy in 2 weeks to the border sectors.